Hey everybody, it's Paul Grossman, your friendly dark arts wizard of AI test automation, and welcome to another session, 2-hour session with hosted by Testomat. Gotta give a thanks to them. We've been doing this for, I think it's 2, maybe going on 3 years. Something entertaining that came out of the pandemic, and me and my co-author Larry Goddard have been doing. Just to let you know, today we've got 2 great speakers over here. In about an hour, we're going to be talking to Péter Földházi, and he's an advocate for quality within your company. But starting out first, we're going to have Gil Zilberfeld out there talking about exploratory testing with AI, which is going to be absolutely exciting. Before we get going over here, just wanted to mention, let's see, I picked up a new UFO light. Of course, it doesn't come up on my blue screen very well, but a nice little abduction UFO. I wanted to kind of show that off to you guys. I have been working in test automation for like 25 years. I love all this. I love doing all sorts of cool stuff with automation. If you're ever looking for good books to check out, please check out Automation Awesomeness. That's by Joe Colantonio. And I got one other one, and I was going to mention my own book. I'll show it to you later. But this one over here, Matt Hauser, has got a great book on software testing strategies, if you can actually see that over there. Just always love to give a shout out to anyone who's working in test automation out here and in whatever tools you happen to be. By the way, I am working in all sorts of different tools. I'm now actually currently working with Playwright. And all of the cool ideas that I've got in my book on automation with me by Paul Grossman and Larry Goddard, I am using AI agentic coding to put that in there. And I've now got an awesome framework that sits there and runs 100 test cases in parallel in 9 minutes against our site to make sure everything is working. And it's there's a lot of vibe coding. I know there's a bad connotation about that, but I'm leveraging it, and I'm always happy to answer questions on stuff like that. But it is not my show over here. There's 2 more things I just want to mention to you guys before we bring on our first guest over here. And that is, we always love to have questions asked over there. So if you happen to be watching, I believe we have a stream on YouTube, and we have a stream on LinkedIn, and I believe there is a field on your maybe this side over here where you can actually ask questions. So please, while we're going, don't wait till the end. Ask your questions as we're going, because the last few minutes of our session here, we always like to throw questions at our moderator. And I know there's even already a question out there in the chat. We haven't even brought up on our guy here yet. I got that's not a question. I'm talking to our backstage manager over there, who's always doing a fantastic job, supports me great. And I always love to give him a shout out, helping out on these things here. Matthew says he likes my t-shirt. It's my dragon shirt. That's my dealio. I want to give a shout out to my son before we bring on our guest. I was talking to my son just before I hear it. He says, you should really dress professionally like that. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't stand out in the crowd. Now, when I've got a dragon shirt on, and I always have a dragon shirt on, yeah, I kind of stick out, and people remember that Paulie guy with the dragon. Who's that dragon guy shirt? And I will even tell you that I've been at conferences where I've switched out of the dragon shirt and just playing a plain white shirt, and I blend into a crowd. So if I don't really want people running up to me like, hey, yeah, that was a great presentation, blah, 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 I can do that. So, but you know what? Enough about me and me talking about all sorts of cool stuff. I'm going to go and bring Gil here up on our screen and do a little introduction there. Hey, Gil, how you doing?
I'm great, but I don't have dragons with me today. So I'm glad you brought yours.
I'm always happy to bring a dragon, or even a little treasure chest that will bite things. All sorts of tools over here. Let me see. Gil, if I understand this correctly, you started out as a developer, and you've also gone to work as a tester, a team leader, a product manager. You got 20 years experience helping developers, testers, and automation experts, and everyone who develops products. And you also teach development and architectural techniques, refactoring and clean code, and all sorts of other cool stuff. And you are an author. You actually have a book. Do you have a copy of your book that you can pull up and show everybody?
Nope, just electrons.
Well, then I will go and find it. He's the author of Everyday Unit Testing and Everyday Spring Testing. I will get a copy of mine of one of those out here because I do always love to promote that. And you can learn a little bit more about him at gilzilberfeld.com. At the end of the session, I think I'll share a screen and show that site up there so everybody gets to see it. With that all said, Gil, are you ready to start off our presentation?
I am. Just need to show my screen.
Okay, we'll test to see and make sure the screen sharing is working out there. Let me see. I gotta.
Otherwise, it's going to be.
So we're. I'm getting a. I'm hearing that there's a little echo feedback going on. And I don't hear it on my end. It sounds absolutely good. And you know what? The echo might be coming from me because my mic is open. I tell you what, let's do a quick check. Gil, tell me a little bit about yourself, and I'll go on mute.
So yesterday, I was okay. Can you hear me right now? No echo. Excellent. I think that was it. Question is, can you see my screen? Because I don't know. It looks like I'm sharing. Oh, excellent.
There we go.
Okay. We can watch this for an hour.
A nice mirror effect. Love it.
Okay. Do you see the slides?
We do. It looks great. So, Gil, I'm going to turn it over to you. Have fun.
Thank you. Let's all have fun. Okay, so guys, thanks for coming today. I'm sure it will be great. Well, at least for me. Exploratory testing is something that I'm really passionate about. Let's say I don't use these words a lot, but out of all the things about testing that we can think of, and automation, and we can do a lot of things. Exploratory testing is really where you need a human in, which takes us exactly to where we want to be when we're talking about AI. So I'll talk about this in a minute when we dive in. What we're going to talk about today is really what the title says. Really can't do anymore. But we're not going to talk about Internet Explorer, which is late to the party as always. But we are going to talk about how we can do better in testing in general. But specifically, we're going to talk about things that we're doing as part of exploratory testing and see how AI can help us in different ways. We only have an hour, so I'm going to go through a couple of things. There's a lot more, but I'll talk about what you can do at the end. So yeah, that was it. That was the entire introduction. Let's talk for 59 minutes about me. So that's me over there with the coffee. This is my coffee today. I'm Gil. I'm a trainer, I'm a consultant, and I work with testers and developers and everybody who wants to work with me about making software better. And the last few years, I'm working more and more introducing a lot of AI issues and the challenges that people get with it in different ways. And there are things that can help us. We already see things that when we're using AI, something happens. Hallucinations, too much code, that we don't really know how to do this good. So thinking about how to apply these kind of new practices, new tools effectively into our work is basically what we're going to talk about today. I do webinars, I do YouTube videos. This is my new website. Go there, enjoy it as a YouTube channel. That's it. I'm going to start at the end. What is the end? What do we want? And what we want is more coverage. Now, people ask, well, coverage? Well, what's coverage? Lines of codes? No, it's not lines of code. We're really thinking about coverage as something like a percentage of a number, but this is not what the problem is that it's not it. If you're thinking about lines of code, well, most of the time, if you think about how much of your application that you're testing is really made up of your code, it's like this. Everything else, somebody else wrote. So it's not this coverage. And if we cover your code with 100%, it doesn't ensure anything. And if you're thinking about test cases, okay, well, even 100% of test cases, that means that it's 100% of test cases that you thought of. What about those that you haven't thought of? So this is where exploratory testing comes, right? It kind of augments what we already thought of, and we try to learn more. And this is what we want to do. We want to learn more as much as we can about the system, because that's our role. We want to learn it by using it and give our reports to the decision makers, because this is our job. So more coverage means actually more. It's not really a number. The problem, of course, is that we don't have a lot of time. Or maybe we do have a lot of time, but still limited. And within the time that we do have, we want to make the most of it. So what we're going to talk about today is really about taking the time that we do have and making the most of it by using tools, AI, whatever. And the more we do that, we probably can make more time for exploration and increasing the coverage. What we want. So yeah, we're going to do some exploring. Exploratory testing is really it began with the with doing, everybody's doing exploration. Okay, even if you don't call it exploration or you don't have time, you're doing exploration. You say, this is interesting. What happens if I do this? So this is exploring. Everybody does this, and even if you like plan everything in advance, you go into step 22 and you see, that's weird. Let's do that again. But let's do that again is not in the procedure that you're doing, or if you have a test automated, there's no let's do this, right? So every time you touch the system, not in the right way that people, or maybe you, thought about in the beginning, you're doing exploring. So, and that's good. That's like a very human thing. So if you think about it, um, everybody's scaring us that AI is going to take our job. This is something that, the thing that, this is interesting. This is weird. Oh, that's interesting. What happens if I do X? This is something that we can't touch machines. Machines can imitate behavior. This is true. So if not a lot of people will do, this is interesting, and will codify this, then we'll have AIs trained on these kind of things like applications and how to test applications, and they will bring in. But curiosity, or I think you've been on the team for 3 years. You have expertise. You have like magic. You know where to press buttons in order to get the machine moving. You know stuff that most people don't know, hopefully, and this is why you are important for the job. So, can you do your job better with AI? The answer is yes, but you need to kind of analyze what you're doing and then delegate, and we'll talk about delegation as well, to our soon-to-be master lords, what you can do. And again, what we can do then is have more time to do our job with our skills, things that really cannot be automated or replicated. Okay, so what can AI do? The humans, we know. It can do a lot of things. And the more you try, and I'll show you in a second examples of that, you can start seeing things that you don't like to do, or are more error prone, and things that you might even not think about or trust a machine to do for you. It's like exploration. You need to try, and the more you try, you can more focus on what you actually can achieve with our masters here. Okay, so I'm going to show you examples from a session that I had with Mr. Claude. This was a while ago, and I chose two subjects for my tests. And the first one is, where is it? This is the ultra window again. So this one you may know it's called saucedemo.com. This is a sort of a demo site for you to train on automation, and it's cool. You can do this. It's a shopping thing and all kinds of things you can do here. So I'll show you examples of testing this, exploring this with AI. The second thing is Star Trek. This is StarTrekAPI.co, sorry, which basically you can do all kinds of things, but this is like API on top of Star Trek data, which you can do. So these are going to be our two subjects, and I'm going to jump into Python, PyCharm. Not everything's going to be code here. Actually, most of the things are not going to be code, but it's easier for me instead of jumping. So this. The first thing we're going to talk about is suggestions. Suggestions for what? So if you're doing some kind of test planning, or if you're doing exploratory testing, you're thinking about charters, right? So charters are small areas you want to focus on within sessions. So you can ask your bot for suggestions. So here's an example. So I want to test charters. I want test charters for a sauce demo. That's the UI thing, right? The main page is here. This is simple e-commerce site. The main page contains login credentials you can use. You can also buy things without actual money. I want charters around the following: main page, product page, and the checkout process. Do this. You get something like this. The reason I'm saying get something like this is because it's AI. You will always get something that is not exactly the same. This is a completely new thing. I'm talking about this in my newest webinars, how to test things like that. But for starters, let's see what we got, right? So login page, explore login functionality with valid credentials, and page accessibility and keyboard navigation, image loading display. So this, you probably tested things before. You look at this and I could have thought of that. So, and the answer is, of course you could. This is not saying that this replaces you, but you wouldn't be able to do this in 10 seconds. Okay, even less. So two things you get here. First of all, you get a list, and you can play with the list, like how big it is and what kind of how deep you want to go inside. But first of all, the breadth of the list, you get a big list. Second, you'll get things that you didn't think about. Why is that? Well, you're focused on where you are in the project. If you're at the beginning, you probably want to see that these things are working, that the login page, the product page. You're not really interested in accessibility. But it gives you ideas. Well, we're not there yet. Maybe we'll get there. And when we get there, maybe we will do that, or we'll run this maybe prompt again and see what happens here, and maybe ask for some more advanced stuff. So you got this, and of course you can play with that, like ask more details on that. But just a couple of seconds, and you got ideas to what to test. I tried this also with the API with Star Trek thing. And the nice thing is that you can say, this is the schema, load it. This is the API I'm interested in. This is the whole schema, the YAML. Read it and give me ideas. Right. I get a list of ideas. You can see already that it's not the same format as the one that I asked before. Again, like I said, if we're not specific, we'll get something that may be good for us, but we didn't expect. Here's something that I didn't think about originally: the test pagination parameters. Of course, I should have. How many results do I get when I search for something? Because I'm just in search character here. But I didn't think about. But I did think about partial name matching. So I have a whole webinar about testing this thing, Star Trek API with Postman, and this is where I actually found a bug though. But things that you, again, probably think about if you've been enough time on the project, know the area, you will think about this. But if you want to get 100 things out here, it's going to be easier to run this list and review it rather than write everything sort of by hand. This is like already starting to touch on quantity, right? The bigger the quantities, things start to not go as well for us. We can't think of 100 cases like off the bat. Maybe if we sit 5 of us in a room, we'll probably come up with something. But here, if you ask for 100 cases, just ask for it. You'll get 100 cases probably. You'll need to review them. Are we good at reviewing 100 cases? Not much. So this is where we need to know how to ask stuff in order for this to make not more sense, but it has to be effective for us to absorb and use it. Okay. Continuing with this API, so most of it was like a whole session, I think. I went with the APIs. I didn't show you this. That's not a piece of suggestions. I asked for examples. What are examples? Well, it gave me ideas of test cases. Let's get more details, right? So I asked, can you give me examples for each one? I'm at the API world based on the documentation. And I got cases. Search for Kirk to verify James T. Kirk, Picard, stuff like that. Pages. By the fields, it knows the schema, so it knows what to filter on. The more your application or your schema or your sense of world is similar to what it was trained of, you'll get better fit to what you need. I want to show you something. Things that I didn't think, but you have a lot in Star Trek, like special characters, T'Pol, or Worf, son of Morg. So Worf, everybody knows Worf, I hope. But could be you can search for something like Worf, son of Morg, because he is the son of Morg. And these are cases that things that not immediately you would think of, unless you've done this before, and which is okay. I want to show you something else. Oh, this one. Common surname. So if you're a Voyager fan like me, you know that there's Tom Paris and his father, Owen Paris. So it's interesting to see if you're searching for Paris, what will come up. And you've got versioning stuff. So it knows, like, you think about Star Trek API, search character API. Not the first thing that you think about is versioning, but yes, there are versions. So you need to think if what is the difference between the two versions, if there are versions. Okay, so coming up with ideas, it's good for test cases, test planning, whatever. Also prioritization, like let's say, don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of time. And I don't have time to explore everything. Can you prioritize the suggestions based on usual user behavior? And going back to the UI, what would a regular user do in an e-commerce site? So that AI have been trained about a lot, both on the websites and both on testing with the websites. So based on what a regular user would do, in e-commerce side, you can ask, well, if I don't have a lot of time, what should I start with? Well, start with this. It gave me high priority and medium and lower, and you can actually see that it even makes sense, like login and product browsing, filtering, and cart functionality. These are the high priority ones. So you can ask it, and again, are you asking for exact correct answers? You want some? Will you get some? Well, depending on where you are. So, for example, let's say you're not 1 month into the project, you're 6 months into the project. So, all this stuff has been tested. You've got automation for that. Some of this here, but you do this and you say, oh, finally, we can get to accessibility. We have time for it now. This everything else is working already. We've got automation around it. Let's explore this. So it's not just like organizing it for when you don't have time. It's organizing in a different way, and you can like do organization different ways, like a happy path, all the happy paths here, and then the edge cases or something like that, depending on where you are. Or you can say, I want, like when I started with, I want to explore an area. Give me ideas about that. Okay, so all this about planning, yeah, it's a lot of planning. Now, one of the things that we do a lot of in exploration is think about what's next. Okay, so we're seeing something, we respond to that. This is like the human thing, the human in the loop. But so it's not like it doesn't make sense just to like drop everything in the middle of a testing session and ask your AI, what should I do next? Yes, but I'm at the product page. I've tested all the scenarios of sorting. Page is now sorted by price. So I kind of got my system under some kind of state. What should I test next? Give me ideas. And with enough details, you can get kind of results. Add cart functionality, product details, look for filtering, stuff like that. Cart interaction with the product, responsive design. Sure, why not? So even if it's not inside a session of exploration, but you got to a point, maybe it will have some ideas for you of what to test next. Again, it doesn't replace you. If you've been enough time on the project, you will have ideas on what to do that. And this is not like a first aid that you will need to when you run it, but it's an idea. Why not use it? Yeah, okay. Okay, so up until now was something like more of a planning, even if during like exploration session and we think about, oh, what do I do next? Everybody's saying, oh, you can generate tests with AI. So yes, to a point, but yeah. But generation is, first of all, it's not just for tests. I'll show you a couple of examples. But you can use AI in different ways to do all kinds of things with your code. So for example, please create a playwright test in Python for the case of login functionality with valid credentials. Test should succeed if after logging in, there's a navigation to the product page. And it created a test for me, which I think even worked. Now, would I write this test like this? Well, first of all, I will use a lot less comments, and I would use probably better locators than this. I would use get by role if you know a bit about Playwright. So first of all, it works. This is a very simple test. It actually works. But first of all, it may not be. Okay, so I've played enough with generating code with, what did I try? I tried both Claude and Gemini. for generating tests. It's not always as good as it seems, but let's say it does, gives like a leap forward, and like this, maybe I will change the locators and I still have something that's working. So first of all, yeah, if you don't have any automation, right, it gives you a leg up. You can create something. Now, will you create something that is worth keeping? That's a different answer, because you have something like if you do this, you will get a test from scratch. Like the other day, I did that. If you look at this, this is a playwright test, and it uses the sync API because most people use the sync API in Python. There's async API as well. What if I wanted to do the async API? So transformation of tests, I like that. What if I wanted to transform this into Selenium? Why would I do this? Well, most of our automation is done in Selenium. So yeah, this is nice, but now I have to support two tools. I don't want to do that. Usually it would be the other way around, right? You'll get a Selenium test and you want to transform that into a Playwright because this is a bit more modern, but you can get that. So generation is not a part of exploration, but if you get something that you said, this is good to have as part of my automation suite, why not do that? So that's one thing. And maybe you don't, like I said, everything's running from scratch here. And you look at that and say, well, automation is written with page object models. So I said, thanks, can you refactor that to using the page object model? Now, it knows a page object model. Most AI code bases know patterns that are ubiquitous. This is one of them. Great. Thank God. So it just change it to a login page and the product page, and the test looks a lot better now. Yes, it hard-coded the things here, but again, we can play the kept the locators here. Again, I haven't, unless it was a very, very, very simple test. I've been around too much to not like most test ICs. Okay, I'm a curmudgeon like this, and that's also true not just for test, for code as well, clean code and stuff like that. But first of all, you can get most of the way there. You can do a lot of transformation and a lot of refactoring. This is refactoring to a page object model from regular scripting. Is, I wouldn't say it's hard, but it's complex and it's error prone, and it's like this worked out of the box. So if you're thinking about, I have this thing here, I want it inscribed in a test form, and I want it inscribed in a test form that will fit our automation suite, you can use AI for that. Remember we talked about delegation? You need to confirm, approve what it did for you, right? If it doesn't do what you actually need, and it can do that, you don't want it in your automation suite. But this is where it comes to like working in very small batches and stuff like that. You can't read a lot and understand everything in a very large batch. You can't read a lot of code and understand and approve all that. You have to do this in very small batches to be in control. And being in control means that you end up with what you want as part of your suite in our case. Okay, so I showed you how to generate a test, but generating tests may seem like a natural progression of what we're doing, but it's not the only thing. Because sometimes I want to get to a point. I want to set the system in a certain state or position. And the reason I want to do that, first of all, I don't want to run like every time I run an exploration session, I need to go through 5 login screens and create a user and blah, 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 blah. Don't want to do that. So first of all, for me, but that's not also that's one use. The other use is that you kind of explore things and you found out something that is weird and you want to get that to the developer to debug. So yeah, you can give them the steps if you remember, but you can ask your minion here to create a script that gets you to this point, because again, you remember what you did mostly because you document very well. But so you say, get me to a point, and I want to explore the cart page. Please create a script for me that logs into the application, selects 2 items, and goes into the cart page. I'll take it from there. And this is a playwright script that does that. It's not a test. See, it doesn't start with a test here, so it's not a test. That's how Pythonese work. And again, locators are like ugly, and but it does what it does. It even has some kind of asserts inside it to check that the card count is correct or not. And you can give this to a developer, and they will run it and get the system in a state. Cool. Final things I want to show you today is data preparation. So there are 2 types of data I want to talk about. The first one is input data. And I'm going to show you this in the context of the API because it makes some more sense, right? Nobody likes to create or edit JSON files. Well, I know some people who do. They're not the majority, thank God. And this is like tiresome, and you get loads of tests, and you get to manage them. Yeah. So some problems will not be solved by AI, but it already has the schema. All right, so you can ask it. For the API testing case from StarTrackAPI.co, there's a search API for character post version of. I specifically didn't say. This one as the post version is because it carries a body. Most of the StarTrack API is read APIs, so it has a get version like get data, and you pass in query variables and something like that. But I wanted something a bit more concrete. I can do that with query parameters as well. But I said for the post version, you pass the parameters you want in the body as a JSON. Please prepare 2 possible input requests bodies, one for Spock from the mirror universe and one for Spock 2. Because I know there's Spock 2. And it gives me this. Here are 2 possible: search for Spock from the mirror universe, search for Spock 2. The JSONs that you got here, I extracted them so they will look JSONified and highlighted as JSON. A lot of things happening outside. So this is like for Spock, mirror universe is true. And for Spock 2, mirror universe is, which is from our universe, mirror universe is false. You don't specify it. Create JSON out of thin air. Is that good? Well, you see the page thing? I didn't say anything about pagination. It gave me this as a bonus. It actually said that. Both requests include pagination parameters, which are optional but recommended for controlling result size. I can delete that. But I get starting point. Remember, this is very small JSON. Could be like very complex one. So that's one thing. There's the other kind of data is result data or assertion data. So you're running a test, you get a response back, and you need to say, oh, okay, is this okay? This is not okay. And we do this manually, and our brain works like in very different ways when we're thinking about it. But how do we check that JSON is okay? So I'll show you how brain works in a second. But for the final 2 cases, the one I gave you, please prepare result files that I can compare when I run the requests. Now, it knows that I know that it knows I'll show you this in a JSONified word in a second. Note that the actual response from the API might contain additional fields or slightly different values depending on any update made to the database. So obviously, we all know it doesn't run the API. So it knows the schema, and it knows what is supposed to be returned. But we need to take this and compare it to what we have. So let's take a look at the Spock mirror. So for example, it created something for me in the way the schema is built. Page, blah, 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 characters. This is the actual thing the schema says. Now, this name here is not true. If you run it against the database, you get Spock. You try Spock mirror, you want to get the entity of a mirror Spock, you get it, but his name is Spock. So that's not true. And you get a gender male and you get a year of birth, which is kind of starting to be interesting because how does it know? Well, it knows because it knows Star Trek. Okay, so it's not in the schema that Spock from the mirror universe was actually born on 2230. Okay, not in Star Trek API, but this is it has been trained on a lot of things, including Star Trek databases, so it knows. What it doesn't know, it kept as null. Is that okay? Well, we review this and we're saying, I tell you that our brain works differently, right? So we look at this. Well, let's start with this. This is the first thing that we see. Is that a good idea? How would I know? Well, these are IDs. Mostly, sometimes they're going to be dynamic. Sometimes they might have a schema, or sometimes they need to be ignored by us. Sometimes they need to be checked in some way because they have to be some kind of pattern. So we look at each field differently. So we know, this is, we ignore it. It's IDs. It doesn't matter. If it's returned 12 here at the end, it's probably still okay. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Name, yes, I will be. Gender, yes. Month of birth, that tells me that you don't know. So if I want to check that, I need to know what it needs to bring because it will get me. If it gets me 2100, I'm guessing that's the wrong month. If it gets me minus 13, it's a wrong month. So there's all kinds of things that when we do sort of comparison, our brain works quickly and it's a different behavior for each one. So we need to know what's important here. But the schema is okay. If you look for Spock 2, by the way, Spock 2 does exist in the database. Again, that is also true. That is also true. But it didn't come from Star Trek API. Okay, so yeah, we've gone through all kinds of things, and like I said, there's a lot more. You can do that when you say, this is like part of my job. Can I do this? Can it help me? Go back to my slides. So what we're looking for is this like turbo boost that we had in the first AI kit 2000. And it's not like replacing everything that we do because we can't replace exploration. Like look at all the things that I gave you examples where we stop when AI stops and we start. We need to think about stuff. How we analyze, how we debug, how we compare. But if you start like looking at the different activities, you can see that a lot of them can be sped up or replaced. So instead of me writing a whole test plan, this is me typing a prompt for like a couple of seconds or minutes and reviewing the result for the next hour. But it's still a saving time because what I will have is the planning thing is a lot more time to it would take me a lot of more time to plan at the same level, right? I'm gaining, like I said, both breadth and depth. more ideas, and I can go deep inside them for better, deeper ideas, get examples for them, generate data for them. A lot of things, a lot of stops that I would need to do, get the system into a state, something that I would need to do in order to explore. All these things combine to a lot of saving time. But it's real delegation. Delegation means that I don't only give you tasks to do, Mr. AI, Mr. Robot. I'm also responsible and accountable for the things that you do. And that means I need to validate a lot. So, before we move on to questions, what's next? Well, after you see the next glorious talk that will come after me, and maybe ask questions, maybe even get answers, I want you to think about your day and think about different bits of things that you can say, I can try this with my registered bot and see what happens. And maybe it will give you other ideas to what you can do, because like I said, there's a lot of them. You can do your job. Remember, we started with the goal in mind, which is we want to know a lot more about, as much as we can, about our system as possible. In order to do that, we now have a tool. It can do a lot of things for us, but we need to learn how to use it. And because it's like a multi-tool, there are different ways to use it. So I want you to think about how you're working, and like maybe try something and something else. Give it a job, see what you get, see, you have to review. It's not going to be comfortable. It's like a change of pace of what you used. But if you see, there's a chance of me using that, try to start using it and see what it gives you. If it gives you more ideas, if it gives you more time, if it gives you an option to do something that in other cases you would say, I will not get there. Suddenly we have a tool that can do all these things. So what I want you to do is think about where you can do this, and usually the price of using it is not that big. Everything that I showed you today was done with, I think when I did it was Cloud Sonnet 3.5. Everything was with the free version. So there's no like deep thing here. When I think like today models are smarter and know a lot more and are more exact, so you'll get even more precise things. So, and of course, the more you work on your prompting, you'll get better answers. Again, this is you gain the experience as you use it. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. That was hopefully not as catastrophic as my cat here says. It's not my cat. I want to thank you for joining me, and I want to thank Paul for hosting me. And if you have any questions, this is where you can find me. And I hear myself again. So I'll shut. Paul?
Yeah, I'm here, and you're hearing yourself because it's a mic. My headphones have gone missing, so my apologies to the
I will
echo
stop
that you're
sharing.
getting on that.
Yeah.
Actually, do share one more time. I am looking for your book, and I would like to get a link to where we can pick that up.
So go to TestinGil.com. I write it in the chat.
Yeah.
If I find the chat.
So actually, I don't think you can do it in. Yeah, you might be able to if you've got the chat open from when. Because I'm not sure how to chat on here.
I have the chat. Can I chat?
I don't think you can, but you can chat through the LinkedIn. Chat. Oh, on the private chat, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, we'll I'll do something that.
Sure, and I'll share it over on the LinkedIn item on the LinkedIn.
Go to TestinGil.com and you have the about and my books.
Sure. TestinGil.com. Let's see if I can jump over there.
The book is on LeanPub. Every day you'll be testing. Spring is like the beginning of the beginning.
All right. TestinGil. Let's see. Go. I got Test Guild. Is this different from Joe Colantonio's? You said Test Guild?
Yeah. It's not TestinGil. It's on my name.
Okay. Let me try that one more time. I don't want conferences. I want TestinGil. Just trying to find that link.
For the book?
Yeah. Always good to give a promo for that. I'm always happy to do that.
It was the link. Okay. The book is on LeanPub.
Can you find the link? Can you dig it up?
I'm searching as we go.
Okay. Well, as we're doing that, let me go take a look at the questions we have over here. So the main question that we had was from Matthias. And he was asking, he's like, what's your opinion about, well, this seems a little insulting, but I'm going to say lazy guys.
Ready to be insulted.
Lazy guys who do all the work with AI. So he's basically, what do you think of coding with vibe coding is basically what he's asking about. And then can they even, let's see, then even can explain it, how it works, the code, and then refactor, and then get review from AI. Am I correct?
The thing is like this. The problem is quantity. We can't review everything. The only way it worked, at least for me, it was to generate little bits of code, review them, then move on. I like TDD. So I can write a test. I actually did a whole webinar about this. And it's like TDD allows you or instructs you to actually go with my voice. It leads you in very small steps. So it is possible to work this way. Vibe coding, like generate the site for me. This is awful. You don't know what goes in there. And what happens is that because people can't really understand, they don't review everything. So it can do. I had a discussion with someone that they did something with the cursor, create some kind of configuration, and it turned out it went around the security provisions of the organization. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's not the best thing out there. I also do have concerns about security. Most of us who have worked in the field know that there are lots of different libraries that you can download, and there are some libraries that just are not secure. And usually there's, if your company is good, your security company is good, we'll say, okay, we're going to go through this one company, and these are the only libraries you're allowed to use, and everything else is suspicious unless we can check off on it. That's one thing that does concern me as well, is that when I'm using AI to go and just, I need you to build up my WebDriver IO environment, or one of my the other environments, and I'm blanking out, or over here. Then it goes and adds in a bunch of stuff that that you don't know. You don't know what it is unless you're specifically saying, "Hey, I want a lure in here so I can get some nice reporting." Then it'll go and get the right stuff. But I'm never too. I'm a little weary of that.
I understand. It's not a new problem.
Yep.
It's not an AI problem.
No.
It was before that as well, and we were thinking that the world is safe enough to download everything.
It hasn't
No,
changed
I
since the
know.
80s, man. Oh man. I did want to ask you the IDE that you're using to code out there. Whose IDE are you using?
So what I used here is PyCharm by JetBrains.
JetBrains. I love JetBrains. I have not had a chance to use their AI built-in capability. I work more in Visual Studio Code, but I'm always open-minded. I think I mentioned other times on here. During the pandemic, I picked up a deal of like all the IDEs for like $20 a month. And I went, yeah, that's a great deal because I don't know what next language they're going to ask me to do. And now it's even cooler because, I've got 3 different LLMs inside of Visual Studio Code. And now I got to go check that one out.
I actually did that. The AI, I kind of was. I did not use the Juno or whatever it is when I did it. So I actually went to Web Claude to do this.
Okay.
Because I wanted it to be clean and doesn't know anything about the code or something like that. Because if you use it in like a Git Copilot, it will probably know something about the code. So for the presentation, I wanted to keep it clean.
That's fine. That's cool. And Matthias is kind of apologizing. He didn't mean to insult us. It's okay. We have very thick skin.
We're not insulted.
No, we're not. It's not. It wasn't you. It's me, not you. He says we're doing it right. I don't know about that because I've been vibe coding the heck out of my little automation framework.
It's very addicting.
It is. It is. Addicting. In fact, that's the word. When I first started doing this, I started into this 3 months ago, and the first thing is that after 2 weeks of coding, I'm like, this is great. It's generating stuff, all these ideas. I don't have to spend hours trying to figure out how to write it correctly. It just does it for me. And then I ran out of tokens. And then I realized, there is quite an addiction there. It's like, what do I got to do to get more tokens? How do I get more tokens? And I'll tell you, I actually reached out to someone at Microsoft. I'm like, how do I get more tokens? How does it work? Can you jump on this show? We do this Testomat thing. Could you tell us how to do that? And he goes, I'm not sure how to do it, but I can reset your tokens. I'm like, all right, cool. I got more tokens. I can make it to the end of the month. And then my boss actually reached out. He goes, you said you need new tokens. We love what you're doing. You can have as many tokens as you want. Just tell us, how do we get more tokens? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to find out. And they did finally figure it out. I'm going to go back over to one other thing is Matthias, and I did mention it in the chat over here. And I'm just kind of keeping my eye. We have about 5 minutes left over here before we go on to our next speaker. He was asking, he's like, as he was asking, what is this? Where is my LLM breaking everything? He's laughing about that. Thanks, Matthias. Yes, I've been there too, where I've been adding some feature, and for some reason the LLM goes, oh, and by the way, I'm going to tweak this and this.
Yeah.
One big tip on that is version control. Obviously everybody, any developer, and we are all developers. STETs are also developers. I version control everything, and then I always put down, I have a whole suite of about 100 test cases, and I will put down how many test cases are passing. And then I'll make a branch of it, and I'll do all the AI code and checks in over there. And if anything's broken, if it doesn't run as many test cases to pass as my main does, then it doesn't go back to main. And I just keep working on it until, okay, it seems pretty steady, and then I'll merge it back in. The quick thing, I'm sorry, I do take a lot of different shortcuts in my brain when I'm trying to get back to a point. LLM, the way this thing works is I look at it like the difference between having a pickaxe and a jackhammer. And it's tearing up the road. It's just doing it a lot faster for you. I do use it first I started using it for documenting the code because I adopted somebody else's framework and they didn't document their code. That helped me out a lot. It wrote the README files. And then also when I'm trying to type some code together, it automatically writes it correctly. And it will even realize if I'm trying to make 5 changes in a file, once I make the first change, it deduces, oh, you probably want to change this and then this, and all I have to do is hit the enter key if it's correct, and then I can also cancel
it works for 80% of the time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. 80%, and that's always my goal. People always ask me, like, when are you going to get to 100% automation? I'm like, never.
We want to.
Well, why not? Because you have 8 developers and me. I can't keep up. We all write code at the same time, even if we're AI generated. And if they're AI powered and I'm not, it's like 16 guys versus one automation engineer. 80% is always my my goal. 80 is an A plus. I'm sorry. But, what else you got?
This is important.
Yes.
We want to get this, but the 100% means we're trusted completely. We can't trust it completely. So this is why it does the auto test. The auto completion for you. You need to review what it did for you, and you say, I need this or not. So a lot of times for me, it's like I just press tab to complete it. This is not what I wanted, and delete everything. But I need to be in control all the time. And this is like a mental task.
Yep. Tiago over here is asking, who would be the silver ball in test cricket today? Oh, I only follow BattleBots, man. That's you get out of sports. I'm a nerd. But anyway, the player who, while not yet a superstar, could consolidate their place and become a key test performer. I don't know how to answer that. What do you think, Gil? You got an answer for that one?
The future and current tester, but it's more about the future, is two things: an expert about the system and collaborator. They will work together with the developers and the product and support with all many people, because they hold the expertise of how it works, how it should work, the shortcuts, everything goes into tester mode. So the super tester works well with other people as well.
I agree with that. Yeah. Player who, while not a superstar, could consolidate their place and become a key test performer. I'm trying to think of how to really answer that one. Cool. And we're down to our basically our last minute over here. I really don't have a good answer. I always say that the worst thing you can do is be a lone ranger, because all of your ideas are great ideas. We're always the hero of our own story, no matter how dumb our ideas might turn out to be in the future. I'm always happy to have someone else. I like to have a human person, bounce ideas, like 2 people on a automation engineer team. And nowadays, if I can't get that, it's an AI. Just ask some ideas. But there are ways that you can give prompts to tell the AI, by the way, don't just try to make me happy. Yeah. Okay, tell me if you think there's something dumb about what I'm about to describe here. Like I'm trying to run something that only runs under Linux, but I've got a Windows machine. Did I miss that? Or something like that.
Forgot to tell you.
Doing stuff. Yeah, I forgot to tell you this and that. or give it rules. Please don't mess stuff and don't. I do not like it when it tries to commit my the changes to my repo. I'm like, no, let me handle that. You don't have to worry about that. I did put your book into the our discussion. I'll link to your book out here. So if you want to see more and catch that, I've also got the links to Gil's websites. There's 2 of them out there that I've posted in there. So please do go jump onto that. Check that out. Gil, any final parting words for our audience while we're here?
If you're at Agile Testing Days next week, I'm going to be there. So come and say hi.
I'm going to be hosting the hackathon.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yes, we still haven't figured out what we're hacking, but we will be doing a hackathon out there. I'll be hosting that. I'm not sure what time in the morning I'm getting up to do that, but I'll be there. Yes, it's a week from today, next Wednesday. and I think it's actually runs a couple of days if I'm not
Yeah, I'm
mistaken.
going to teach a tutorial on Monday on Playwright, and on Thursday the deep dive data.
Perfect.
I'm coming for work.
Check Gil out over there. So Gil, it's been a real pleasure. We definitely want to have you back at Testomat to speak more on this. This was really a lot of fun and very entertaining and informative. I thank you very much for you being here.
Thank you.
All right, Gil, thank you very much. We're at the top of our hour. We do have our next speaker. Peter is going to be up there and ready. I'm going to see if I can tell you a little bit about Peter. Also, I did mention I did write a book on test automation. I always love to plug that. And this is written by Paul Grossman. Oh, yeah, great. I've got this nice thing on here. It's Paul Grossman and Larry Goddard. If you are a fan of this series, you'll know that Larry and I switch off on these sessions. So Larry is now out in, I think he's out in Trinidad, hanging out with his family. So we do like to bounce these ideas off each other. That is a WebDriver IO book. However, with AI, I would just like to tell you the concepts have been the same. It's concepts that me and Larry have come up with over the last 25 years, and we just kind of put them together and play around with them. And I'm pretty certain I'm going to write a version for Playwright and as well as for Cypress. With that said, like I said, I gave a little plug over there. I've been playing with a lot of other tools out there, and there is all sorts of things that are companies that are out there that do cool things. And wanted to find. Oh, wait. Now we'll bring up our next author in just a moment. I just wanted to mention. We do Software Velocity is a really cool company. Please go check them out. They actually take a whole bunch of different documents and bring them in and have the AI put together a whole testing platform for you. Reach out to my friend Steve out there at Software Velocity to go check him out with his Test GPT. I think it's a really cool product I've been looking at for a while out there. I also recently been playing around with who else we had there? I just want to mention let's see. I talked to Noesis on Testing On. They've got a really cool tool out there. And let's see, who else do we got? I just wanted to mention again. I took a look at Harness. Harness was pretty cool. By the way, Zap Test is another thing. And then there's ExcelQ and go check them all out. That's what I always do. I'm trying to play around with them and put together videos. I do use a Candy Mapper challenge out there. I'm 4 minutes into this, and I've been sitting here basically having Peter waiting in the wings while we do that. So I'm going to bring Peter onto our screen over here and ask him to talk a little bit about advocating for quality within inside your company. Hey, Peter, how you doing?
Hey, Paul. I'm doing well. How you doing?
I am doing all right. I do know I know that I'm here that there's an echo because, like I said, I can't find my headphones. My dog. I have two new puppies, and they've run off with my headphones somewhere. I don't know where to find them. So there's a little echo, but once I turn off the mic, that will take care of itself.
Don't worry,
Peter,
we can order something for you very quickly. So,
what's that?
Amazon. Yeah. We can.
I'm sorry. I had the volume turned down low, so I wasn't quite sure if to try and now I can't quite hear what's being said. Peter, tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Who do you work for?
So I'm Péter Földházi, and I've been working for EPAM for more than 13 years now.
Wow!
And we've been with that company for a while now.
Any chance you've written a book on this stuff, or is that something in the planning?
It's a good question. Myself, I contributed as a co-author for the ISTQB Test Automation Engineer and Test Automation Strategy syllabi.
I know those guys very well. It's a good certification. I will tell anybody who's ever talked about it. I've heard people say certifications aren't worth your time. Not at all true. I've gotten at least 2 certifications in my lifetime. one from Mercury that doesn't really exist anymore. But the one thing I'll tell people who are watching this, and in fact, we did have a question from someone who was asking, hey, do you guys have a job? I need a job. One of the things I always look for when I'm doing interviews for people is, did you actually go, or are you in the process of getting a certification? That shows to me that you have self-starting motivation. You're not coming in and saying, hey, that's your company, are you going to pay for me to get a certification? If you come in and you are looking at it, it means you're actually getting trained on whatever is the cutting edge of the technology, whether you're a developer or you're or a QA automation engineer. So definitely go for that. Peter, I think I've taken up almost 10 minutes of your time allotted over here. We do sometimes, we will go over time. And again, everybody, if you, I think on the YouTube channel or in the chat, please throw your questions in here for Peter, and we will catch up with you at the end of this session. With that, Peter, I'm going to turn it over to you, and have a great time showing us about how to advocate for quality within your company.
All right. Let me first find the presentation itself. And by the way, I really liked the previous section from Gil and the Q&A as well. So there were a lot of interesting questions there. Maybe next time we should have a panel discussion, because it would be nice to chime in and have that conversation between us. So if you want to ask anything related to AI, for example, I'm very happy to answer those type of questions as well, because most recently I just wrapped up the second phase of a GenAI adoption program. We are now preparing for the third one, so and for other clients as well, EPAM. So I'm going to be able to answer those type of questions. But today, this topic that I brought is not focused on AI, which is probably a surprise in today's world where everything is about AI, right? I'm going to bring you something that I think worked before and works even till today. This is an approach that I've been teaching at different conferences, the STAR conferences, CAST, HASTEV, and so on. And normally it is a half-day tutorial. And this is basically a 30-40 minutes version of a half-day tutorial. And that half-day tutorial is a shorter version of a 7-month course that we have in EPAM, the Quality Architecture School. So you can imagine that how much is the amount of knowledge that is being shared within our company. So this is an outsourcing and business and technology consulting company. And as Paul highlighted, it's important to make sure that you learn, especially if you are searching for a new job or you want to grow higher in the corporate world and go from, let's say, from an engineering position to a senior one, from senior to a lead, or go over all the way to architecture or management. Every time you have to learn something new. It's not just the experience that you gain from projects, but also trying to learn how other people are doing that kind of job that you are looking to fulfill in the future. So that said, the content that I'm going to be showing you is much shorter, obviously. It's 30-40 minutes, and there are many different ways how you can advocate for quality within your company. So this is just one approach. There are many other great approaches as well, and many other approaches that can be combined with this one. What I'm going to be focused on today is showing you the concept of test pyramids. I assume that most or all of you have already heard about it, but I want to ensure that everybody knows it and we are on the same page with this concept. Then I'm going to go a little bit deeper with how you can conduct assessments, and that's going to be the backbone of this presentation. And then I can actually present the results of an assessment, making sure that people are actually going to listen to you and they are going to buy into a better quality within your company. And again, for me, when I was working as a test automation engineer, I was a test automation engineer for 8 years, roughly 8 years, before I moved over to consulting 5.5 years ago. And as a test automation engineer, I always struggled in ensuring that people understand what I'm talking about, why I think the current state of testing or current state of quality is not up to the level that we should be reaching. And sometimes I wrote TLDR emails, like too long do not read emails, and people just very politely responded to me that thank you very much and gave me a little bit of pat on the shoulder, and that was it. No action items after that. So I started realizing that maybe that's not the right way for advocating quality. Maybe I could do it a little bit differently. So obviously, now that I have more than 5 years of experience in consulting and working as an architect, it is much easier for me now to do that. And this is where I would like to help you, because I know that most testers are struggling the same way as I was struggling at the beginning of my career. So, as I said, I would like to go through the test pyramid concept first and go from there. So the whole idea of the pyramid shape and like showing the test distribution through the pyramid is showing that whatever is on the top is going to be tests that are going to be running slower, running longer. It will take more time to build them, and they are costlier. And because of that, and also because of where they are at the stage of the SDLC, when you can start working on this, usually these tests come later in the life cycle. And you can start having the benefits of running these tests much later. So they are not providing you the value quickly and for cheaply. On the contrary, if you go all the way down, you can write more tests. You can spend much less time on implementing way more amount of tests, maybe even a higher coverage this way, much earlier in the life cycle. Already by writing unit tests, what you can achieve is as the code is being developed, you can also develop those tests parallelly or even before if you follow TDD. So obviously, like from here, you can see, depending on how you identify the different levels of your test pyramid, you can see what you need to start doing earlier to achieve a shift left testing approach. Now, many people don't know it, but actually the original pyramid was called the Test Automation Pyramid. So it wasn't a test pyramid, but a Test Automation Pyramid. It was very simple. I really love the simplicity of this OG pyramid, because it's all about just UI, service, and unit. Very simple. So many times, even till today, I want to describe like how the test automation pyramid looks like. Many times I just show this simplified original version. It really shows it. Yes, the unit is what's closer to the developers. So as they write their code, they write their classes and methods. This is what you're going to be testing with these unit tests. And the focus is on validating or like ensuring that the code quality is good. It's there. And of course, the higher code coverage you have in the unit test, you can ensure that more of the code is being tested properly. Now, contrary to that, the service testing, many people still say that it's dev testing. It's not necessary. So some of it is usually covered by developers, some of it by testers, or SDETs, or test automation engineers. The whole idea is that this is what's behind the curtain. So when data is being passed between different components or between the different subsystems, data is again being passed by. So there's an interface, and that interface is allowing you to communicate with other interfaces as well, with other services. So that's what this is about. And then you have the UI testing, which I suppose that most testers are familiar with how it's being automated, the testing of those UI tests. Now, I like to show it most of the times the last couple of years is actually by decomposing the service level, talking about the functional API testing, contract testing, so testing of the API contracts, and the components, so the integration of the different components. And why I like to show it this way to my clients is because, again, it's like, obviously it's a little bit more complex than the OG test automation pyramid, but it's still not too complex for you to be able to explain what's going on. And usually what happens is that here you can tell that, yes, the API testing, that's where you would use Postman or REST assured, that's where the Swagger comes in and so on. So this is where it's easy to tell them, like, hey, you may be doing this manually today or not at all, but if you're doing it manually, this is very easy to automate. And again, these tests usually, like the tests of several hundreds of API functional tests, may run for just a couple of minutes. So is this something that you would like to have in your CI/CD? Definitely. This is something that's going to be much quicker than UI testing, and it's going to give you a high security or like a safety net for ensuring that, yes, all your APIs are working correctly, you have the correct integration, and the business logic is working as like you're following the business logic that is supposed to be there. Now with the contract testing, that's usually where I have the most amount of questions. Okay, well, what's even a contract? So when we are talking about a contract, it's not a contract between two companies. In general, it's that's not what I would like to talk about it here. Here, what I'm talking about is contract between APIs. So I have a producer API and then I have a consumer API. What happens is that the producer is going to provide data in a certain format, right? And that's what the consumer can consume. Now, the problem comes if the data is not in the format that the consumer expects it. Then there's going to be a defect here. And if you don't have any kind of contract or functional API testing, where are you going to detect those defects? You're going to detect those while testing the UI. So much later in the life cycle, it's going to be much slower as well. And you will have to dig deeper to figure out what is the root cause of this issue. So, and this is a very, very common challenge that I'm seeing with my clients and what I'm hearing from people who are joining my workshops. So that's why I like to highlight that it is crucial to also put emphasis on the contract testing, not just talking in general about service testing, but actually talk about the details of what a contract test is, how you can ensure that even if there are multiple consumers for the same producer, those contract tests are still going to be passing and everybody is going to be happy. Next is component integration. Again, depending on like whether you are going with the discrete or classicist style. Some people like to have the mocks already in unit testing. Some people don't. I personally don't like to have the mocks in unit tests. And I believe that's more something to have in the component integration test because that's where you are testing the integration. Again, different people come with different approaches. So it's all up to you. Now, once you understand what are the different levels and like what type of testing you can cover on those different levels and what should be the distribution, you of course will realize that usually that pyramid shape is not actually a pyramid shape. Actually, it's more of an ice cream cone shape where it's an upside down pyramid, where the emphasis is on UI level, and there might still be some service level testing, which is great, but little to no unit level testing. The hourglass is where it's at least you have a good code quality, hopefully, but then the next time you do any kind of testing is at the very end of the life cycle with the UI level testing. So again, like this is where all those integration issues are going to leak to later environments. And what happens is that it's going to be costlier to detect those and to fix those type of issues. And one thing I would highlight here is that people like to say, and let me just go back here, that the pyramid is the ideal shape. And like, you're doing testing and software development correctly only if this is the shape that you have for the test execution. Now, I would say that's not true, because sometimes you may have these kind of shapes and it is fine for now, or maybe you just don't have a way to make a change here. Maybe, as Paul highlighted in the previous Q&A, that, hey, maybe you have 8 developers and 1 tester in the team. How does the tester keep up with all the development? How is he or she going to be able to cover all the service level testing? Of course, here comes the question, well, can the developers also develop some of those service level tests and automate them? So, of course, you can address it, but it's going to take some time. So this is why you're going to be doing some assessments later on. But before I'm going to talk about that, let me show you the umbrella shape where things go south, you only do UI level testing. You can be sure that there's going to be trouble here if you're following this type of testing approach. Let's say it this way. Okay, and I mentioned the assessment approach. So this is like where you can come in as an advocate for quality. And so this is how you're going to be growing from an engineer to an architect, or from an engineer to a consultant. And I hope that I can give you some hints here, some ideas here, and you can make your own researches and start on this journey if you fancy this journey of becoming a QA architect or QA consultant. So how does this look like? I like to explain it as the 4I approach. When you first, there's the inception and you try to figure out what's going on. Then there's the inspection when an assessment project starts, and you make sure that you set the stage correctly. You have the goals, the scope of the assessment, what you need to deliver by what time. And it's quite important because this is also a project, just like any software project. So you need to have clear understanding of what you're going to be doing and what should be expected from you. Then you are actually going to be doing the analysis of what's the current state. By the way, that's where the pyramid will start coming into the picture. But later, but a little bit more about that later. Then, what I like to say is that many times when you just do an assessment, it's already useful and there's value in it. But what I have seen over the course of the years is that by providing some POCs, usually that means a test automation POC or multiple test automation POCs for the different types of tests. Or even, like, let's say you could try Playwright and Selenium, Cypress, and have 3 different POCs and be able to compare which one is the better tool for that specific project. Or maybe you don't have any test automation needs for this project, or not at this point, or for some reason it just doesn't make sense to do test automation at all. Then you could even have a POC on, okay, maybe you don't have any test management tool and you have all the test cases in Excel sheets. I think that sounds familiar to many of you, I would assume. In that case, you could even try out a test management tool and see if that's something that the team or the client is going to like. So it doesn't have to be just coding or just test automation. The next step is designing the next stage based on the analysis, based on the proof of concept results. And once you have that target state, then doing your report. And this is where you will have your findings, your recommendations, and benefits. You're gonna typically you would show as well, like, what should be the next step for the next couple of months or next half a year. And then if that's being accepted, then you can start the preparation for the next stage. Now here, I would step back a little bit and highlight that as an EPAMer, as a consultant at EPAM, I'm usually a consultant for my clients. So that means I'm an external consultant. If you want to replicate the same thing as an internal consultant, so someone who works within a company, and you want to help your team or your department or your whole company become better and improve your QA processes, you can do that. This process is basically the same. Of course, you will need to adjust it because you are already within parameters of that company, which sometimes is helpful, sometimes can be more challenging. Now, usually, and again, like here, we start with the inception. So let me start from there. So when we do the inception, usually I have a call with my prospective client, figure out what's going on, like why they want to talk with us and why they need help from us. I would like to answer what they are working on, so the applications and services, the business and technology domain. I'd like to understand what are their main points, like how they perceive something is not going right. And then it's also important to actually know if they already have anything for test automation, and what's their tech stack. Nothing, then what would be their preferred tech stack based on their developers' knowledge. And some other information are pretty useful here to understand, as the isolated tooling, so on. Now, then after this, I would prepare a proposal with the recommendations and the actual project proposal for the next call. Usually, we wrap up after 2, maximum 3 calls. Should be enough to really get there. And this is where you would provide, like, okay, what we recommend based on that, how many people and what type of roles are going to be necessary here. In this case, I'm going to be talking about a QA assessment because, of course, it could be that you don't even need an assessment, maybe just a short discovery, and then you can go straight away into development and testing. In this case, I'm going to be focusing about assessments, of course. So you would scope that out here. Now, the next step, once that proposal is accepted, refined, there's a statement of work or any kind of agreement that lets you go forward with the assessment. Again, it's important, as I mentioned before, to really align on a couple of things here, because if you don't have a clear understanding what are the business goals of the assessment, then like why the person and the people who are paying for you and paying for this assessment, if you don't understand what they want to achieve, then the direction of the assessment is not necessarily going to be correct. Again, that scope of the assessment, the deliverables, and the timeline is going to be connected to all of that. So you need to make sure that there's this clear understanding between the parties, and you always regularly align as you go forward with the assessment. That's what I really want to highlight here. Of course, you need a stakeholder who will help you with setting up calls, the meetings, providing you accesses to different systems, providing you the necessary data and the information that will help you in analyzing the current state. Now, that said, for the analysis, you can go with 3 different ways of analysis. So one of them is the questionnaire, then the stakeholder interview, and collecting hard data. I myself love the stakeholder interviews, conducting those, because I like to talk and I like to meet people and I like to get to know them, and I like to see what's the dynamic between people inside a team or inside that department. So this, and also to make those connections. So as you speak to them, they get to know you, you get to know them, and you start building trust. So this is something that you can only build with actual communication. It's key because otherwise you don't find out certain information any other way. Also, there's a way of sending out questionnaires, especially for rapid assessments, which are like 1 or 2 week longs. It's good to have detailed questionnaires for different kind of areas, topics with many questions that teams can usually fill in within like 1.5 to 2 hours. And it gives you a clear picture of the current maturity, the testing maturity of that team or set of teams. So this is a quick and effective way. And even if you are doing stakeholder interviews and collecting hard data, you can still send it out. So it's important. Lastly, I would highlight collecting hard data, which is about like having proof of what's going on and being able to make analysis based on data. So it's a data-driven analysis that you can do as long as you collect the data that is factual. What does that mean? That can mean QA and delivery metrics, such as what is your current velocity and how that has changed over the last 6 months or last 1 year, of how many bugs you are or defects you are reporting per sprint. Is it driven by the severity? Do you even have a field for severity at all? See, there are a lot of questions that you can answer by collecting this data. You can also see whether there's a traceability between the tests and the requirements and the test cases and the automated test cases. So do you have a one-to-one connection between the automated test cases and the requirements? Or is it just like develop whatever you feel like? Again, you will figure out a lot of things by this way, and you're just looking at this one aspect. You can also provide a technical analysis, not just process related or like overall QA related, but deep technical analysis on the test automation development to like how many people are developing it, multiple different people, are they following the same standards? Do they have coding guidelines? Do they provide code reviews to each other? And so on. So there's a lot of things that you can figure out with a deep technical deep dive here. And then I mentioned the questionnaires and the stakeholder interviews as well. There, what's important is that you need to be prepared. Like obviously for a questionnaire, you need to send the actual questionnaire with different topics and questions. For the stakeholder interviews as well, if you don't come prepared with your different topics and the questions associated to those topics, then you won't have an effective meeting with these different stakeholders. And also you won't understand who to invite to those meetings. At the beginning, when I started my work as a consultant, I usually focused the different meetings on the different individuals. So I wanted to meet, let's say, the QA director and the test manager. And separately, I wanted to meet the testers, separately the test automation engineers, separately the developers, separately the DevOps people, which is fine. Like this works as well. But nowadays, I actually like to do it a little bit different way. Instead of focusing on the people, I focus on the topics. Then I figure out who to invite to that. Because for test management, maybe I could even invite some test engineers as well. Maybe even a test automation engineer who can tell us like, okay, are they actually like how do they relate to those test cases that were defined by the testers? Or is it just a one-man job and all the different positions is done by just one person? Defect and so on. Like you may have multiple different types of roles covered within that stakeholder interview. Okay. Next up is once you collected all the data, you start seeing what's going on. You need to prepare your findings. So what you are seeing, and you need to base those findings on data that you can prove that you collected and it's there. You can take snapshots of the Jira board. Hey, this on like today, November 19 of 2025, if we check the last 6 months, I found 3,572 defects. Out of those, 721 were critical issues, and so on. So once you take a snapshot, it's not going to change. It's not enough to just have a query or a jQuery within Jira, because next day it's going to change. Even the same day it's going to change. Make sure you extract it, have it as a proof, and you make your analysis based on that snapshot. And it's also important to ensure that you are being nice here. You're not focusing on bashing people, throwing them under the bus. That's not your goal. You want to build a good relationship with the people already on engineering level, through middle management, all the way to the C-suites. The reason being is because if you start being harsh and you start seeing that the testers are doing a terrible job, and let's say that management and C-level people are going to be happy because then now they see why things are going south, and you get an extension for this project, now the engineers are not going to be happy to work with you. So I would evade that situation. I think it's better to build good, trusted relationships and instead just highlight that, hey, we found these many defects. And this is this is how much time it took for finding those or for fixing those issues. And as you start providing these data and the findings with those data, now you are not judging anyone, you are just showing what's the current state. Everybody will understand what could be improved, especially as you will have your recommendations here. You will have your benefits here, which will be clear in showing how it's going to impact time of delivery, cost of delivery, and testing, of course. And so I already mentioned time, cost, and the quality. So what's going to be impacted if they are following what you are recommending? This is one example for that. Here it's a little bit wordy, I would say, a lot of valuable information. On the other hand, you may want to add some graphics here as well, maybe some pie charts and so on, that will help you with understanding and very quickly see what's going on. But otherwise, this is something that everybody can understand. Like, okay, 95% of issues that do not leak to production are caught on UI level. And 75% of those originate from an underlying API provider. So it is clear that, like, already from this, I understand that there's a huge emphasis on UI level testing, probably no or little to no emphasis on API level testing. So that way I can start this building the test pyramid and seeing where the distribution is. That's what I'm going to be talking about next. So this is an example. Let's say that there's a huge emphasis on UI testing. There's a little bit of manual testing on API level, but still 95% of the issues are found here on the UI level. So that means that it's quite costly for you to catch those defects and to address them. So what happens is that once you have this current state, it's great. You have an understanding of the situation. Now what you have to work on is designing the target state. So what happens is that you see that this is the right now, like the emphasis on UI and unit testing, not much in between. So it's logical that your emphasis is going to be on the middle layers, on API testing, automating those, introducing contract testing, and finding many of those issues even before the functional API tests would find them. And then the component testing, component integration to increase the number of tests there a little bit, so you can find some of the issues even before the contract tests hit in. Now, so that is kind of clear, I assume. But what's something that I would like to highlight here, again, you might recall I mentioned that it doesn't have to be a perfect pyramid shape, especially when you're telling like what you want to achieve. You're not talking about like, okay, 5 years from now, we're gonna have perfect pyramid. And then everybody will be like, thank you very much. Good job. why would I wait 5 years for that? I don't want to wait 5 years. What are the quick wins for me, or relatively quick wins for me? That's what I'm looking for. And quick wins are usually like first couple of months, maybe maximum 3 months. But you also want to target like some things that are going to take a little bit longer. So what I've been seeing is that usually 6 months is a reasonable timeline. Because if you are targeting for 1 year, that's a little bit further away. Of course, that's also good for some projects. Yeah, it depends on the company that you are working for or that you're consulting with. But usually 6 months is far enough for you to be able to do something meaningful and something that you can, something that's measurable. So that's what I recommend. Not 5 years from now, perfect ideal pyramid shape. What's the shape within 6 months? And that needs to be better than what you had before. And of course, your strategy is going to be based on the change, the data. Let me go back again. So you can see the delta here, the API testing, contract testing, biggest delta here, a little bit on component, maybe decreasing on UI, in case there's a lot of flick tests or tests that are not valuable, could be covered by API functional tests. So what happens is that this enables you to write or improve the current test strategy. This is your driving factor here. One thing I would like to highlight here is that, okay, I show these 5 levels here, but many times I still adjust this. I could introduce one more level here or somewhere between. I could rename one of it. For that company, they use a different wording. Fine, I'm not going to be like too strict on that and saying that, okay, this is how it's called in this industry, or this is how ISTQB is calling it. No, it's fine. If it doesn't make sense to change the wording, let's stick to what they understand, what the other people are going to understand. So you may want to make some adjustments to the typical test automation pyramid or test pyramid that you would be using. Then, once you have that strategy, once you have a clear picture of what you are targeting within the next 6 months, you need to present it. So usually, again, this is going to be to someone who was paying for your job as an assessor. So you want to have an executive summary, very quickly go through, summarize why this project started, assessment project started, what was delivered, and not just like in words, like what were the actions taken, but also what you found. Like you can already add some of the highlights here, some of the percentages, some of the numbers here, and then what you're proposing, very short, like what are the main areas that you would be focusing on. And here I like to also highlight usually like what were the goals of the assessment. So it's good to just have it here so that it's on the same page. And then after this, like what you add to the final report, it's really up to your strategy. Like where do you want to go? Do you want to provide a huge amount of details of what you found? Is this what the goal of the assessment was? Or do you want to shift it more to like, okay, yes, I found a lot of things. You can find it in the appendix or in attached documents. Let's not focus on the past or the present. Let's focus on what we can achieve in the future and how we can achieve that. Sometimes that's a better conversation to have. So you may decide what you are going to add to the main part of the deck this way. And of course, you need to have a proposal on what you're going to focus, how you're going to deliver it. Of course, what's the value of that? So I already mentioned some of these here, that formulating the readout is crucial and depends on the audience and what your goal with the final readout is. What is your relationship with the stakeholders? Again, if you had those stakeholder interviews, many of those, if you regularly meet them, and hopefully they are good people, and hopefully you're a good person as well. Then and matching and style with them, then you can build a good relationship with them. Again, what you're going to show is going to be dependent on what you discuss with them, and how much you can show to them, how much detail you can go, or how, I wouldn't say judgmental you can be, but how much transparent you should be in the main part of the deck. Whether you should be putting that more to the appendix. Okay. And lastly, going back to the green language, red language that I showed before, it's important to be polite. Like you can still provide information and data that will tell the story. You don't have to throw people under the bus. You shouldn't be. What you want to achieve is that people understand the value of your work, of your assessment, and how that will help them in the future. So if you provide metrics and the sources, the data sources, the snapshots, and the calculations based on those, then nobody is going to be telling you that, hey, this is not true, because you're presenting facts, and you're presenting something, again, which will help them in the future if they understand and they want to follow it. And again, as long as you're being nice here, you're not judgmental, they will listen to you. If you're not being nice, they will stop listening, because that's not they are not focusing on your talk anymore. They are focusing on you not being nice to them. It's important here. And you want to build that good relationship, not just with the person who is providing the money and the people who are managing the work, but also with the engineers. So from top to bottom or bottom to top, all the people, you want to have that good relationship, because you can provide help and valuable work only if you have that good relationship. But of course, both in written and verbal way, you should be following these guidelines. And basically, that's what I wanted to show you today. And as I mentioned, this is one way of how you can advocate for better quality within your company, or overall quality practices within your company, or for clients that you're working with. So hopefully this was helpful to you. In case you want more help, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. There are times when I'm a little bit busier and I'm not responding right away on LinkedIn, but I always try to be a little bit more responsive there. You can write to me. I'm very happy to provide directions or help. Also, if you want EPAM to help you, again, that's a conversation that we can have as well. So I'm very happy to help you in a formal way as well. And I have a couple articles and blog posts on my website. Again, you can find those there. So hope you're gonna enjoy reading those too. So again, thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions.
Great session there, Peter. I really appreciate it. There's not a lot of questions that we had in the list over there on that, but everything that you were bringing up makes a really good point. I actually had to learn a lesson years ago about how to present stuff in a nice way. I presented something in a rather negative way. I was mad because a manual tester had found a bug. I had found a bug, and the developer and the DBA insisted it wasn't a bug. It was a problem with what we were doing. Hey, you got a shout out from Timur. Might know you.
Yes, we worked together for the same client 6 years ago, around 6 years ago. Hi, Timur.
Nice.
Really nice to see you. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, speaking of, like I say, you always got to put it in a nice way, especially when we're in QA. I've in my career, I've found that there's been kind of an adversarial relationship between developers and QA. My current company, it's really not that way. They do tease me a little bit, and that's okay. I have a lot of fun with them. And one of the things that you brought up, which I think everyone should really take away from this is the findings that you have and presenting it in a good way. One of the things I also do is I always assume I'm the guy who caused the problem before I can do it. Yeah, I try and prove, was it me? Was it not me? In fact, this morning I was looking through some data, and this is something I presume just set up in the last couple of days. We have a monitor that monitors both our dev and our production sites. And all it does is it logs in as fast as it can, clicks one or two links, and then gets out. And it completes in about 30 seconds, but occasionally it does this test every 15 minutes. So I'll go back through the whole thing, and occasionally it'll say, okay, I timed out in about 180 seconds, and trying to figure out what's causing that. Is it causing it multiple times? And then there was one where I had no results for almost an hour. And I was like, is it our developers? They're pretty good because they actually do their own unit testing. So I never expect something's going to go sideways because of them. And then I thought maybe it's me. Maybe I pushed something to main that I broke it for an hour and I couldn't prove that. And the third thing I found out was that it looked to be that where my repo was sitting was down for an hour. And it was at 2:00 in the morning. So it was down. Nobody probably noticed, except for I'm the only guy who's sat there. And then, so I got to tell them, hey, look, and the important thing is in QA, you got to show your ROI. You got to show your reason for being there. What data are you providing to that catches stuff? So I love that slide you had on the findings and the recommendations. In our setup, we actually set up webhooks to go and send our results to Teams. So we have a Teams channel that I basically go through and review just to make sure everything is working really well. Anything else you want to?
Yeah, I would respond to this. Like you mentioned, like the developers are great and they're doing a good job. One thing is that even people who are perfect, they're still going to make mistakes, and it's important to accept that. Like for me at EPAM, that's something I learned very quickly, that if you are not humble, you are not going to grow. And when I joined, that was amazing. Like the first project that I joined, it was an internal project working on a test automation framework that could be reused like many other projects. And the code quality was so high, I didn't see that before. Things that I worked for, and then the guys were really humble. They weren't judgmental of me having learned bad practices in previous companies. They just told me, okay, that's fine. Hey, you can do it this way and that. No judgment, way of talking to me. They were just helping me. That was their goal. And I think this is important that even after so many years, you can make mistakes, even if you learn all the best practices. Sometimes you have no place. And the value, the return on investment that you mentioned, I think that's another thing that testers, especially like 10, 15 years ago, I remember that was all about like, oh, how do we show our work? And I think that's still a thing for many people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if you do the right work and build that good relationship with the developers, with management, with other people, you don't have that question anymore. Nobody's going to ask that question to you like, hey, why are you here? You're not going to question yourself as well, because you know you're there because you know certain practices or way of working that the others don't. You can elevate the quality this way, even if they some of the testing function themselves, like developers.
I had a question for you. Was you had a slide where you were kind of mentioning the information being presented, like dashboards and stuff. Is there any particular dashboards that you prefer to use to show to senior management to get a summary of what's been going on in the history of the executions and testing?
We have a so-called Prism that we are using for these assessments. Sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't. But the EPAM Prism is really good when it's all data-driven, especially when it's questionnaire-based, rapid assessments, and multiple rapid assessments for like 10 or 20 certain different teams. It really shows you the maturity of different aspects, such as test automation, QA governance, test strategy, project management, SDLC. You can have different areas of depth. And then your questions are going to be revolving around. Then the teams are going to tell what they are doing. So it's very easy to show it through the prism, what their maturity is and what they can do.
I like that. That's cool. I'm presuming Prism is something that's set up by EPAM as an option for customers.
Yeah, I'm thinking if I don't know if it's not like if it's public or not, because obviously as an EPAM I can access it.
That's okay. I'm always happy to promote. I know of EPAM. I've heard about them. One company I have not yet worked for, but I've heard very good things about them. So I can recommend them as being a really good company to get people on board to take care of the testing, the coverage. Everybody keep Peter. I'm not sure if we have time. If you said you have a blog post, you have some articles that you posted up and you talk about.
Yeah, basically, I have a backlog of blog posts that I need to finish. So hopefully I'm gonna have some time that things are winding down a little bit. I'm gonna start a new project soon, so maybe not gonna have that much time. But I wanna post a little bit more about Gen AI, especially now that I have more experience in Gen AI adoption and what's really useful. I think a lot of people are focusing on just the individual stuff, the vibe code, the copy paste from ChatGPT, and then they don't see where the value is with AI, or they don't see that big value. And the big value comes when you start increasing the amount of use cases where you have. So that's something that eventually I'm gonna post.
Where can we find that blog? Those blog posts?
Földházi.com, so gonna be easy to find.
Can you type it into the private chat? I'll go share it up on our stream so everybody else can see it. And
just a moment.
It's cool.
Here it is.
Awesome. I'm gonna go pick this up over here, and got that. I'll go paste this over here. So anyone watching the replay over here, you can catch that over there. Putting that over here on that, and we'll also put it onto the LinkedIn channel over here. And there we go. So we got some promotion for you as well. Any last words, bit of advice? I appreciate it. We definitely want to have you back. Anything else you want to close out with?
Thank you, Paul. I think this was a great session, and I really like, again, I would reiterate on what I mentioned at the beginning, that maybe a panel discussion would be nice to have in the future. There's some really good questions, especially around AI, so a lot of interesting questions, and it's good to have those different aspects, I think.
I'm going to throw that out to our producer and let her take a look at it. I think it's a great idea. Me and Larry and you and a couple other people we've had in the past get together and just throw out our ideas of how good or great or bad AI is as we're working with it. Yeah, I think that's a brilliant idea. We're going to get you in on that, and I'll push it. Again, well, thank you very much, Peter. This was very informative, top-notch information. And I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you. So I'm going to just wrap up a little bit over here. As I said, I like to plug it. There is a book that me and Larry wrote. Larry and I switch off on stuff that on these sessions here when we have 2 people every 2 months. Just give us the most brilliant information, up to speed information. I hope you guys all get a chance to do it. The point I was going to make is that although this is in WebDriver IO, with AI now you can take the code samples and apply it to almost any automation framework out there. Do take a look at some of the other tools that are out there. I've got my channel, which is Paul Grossman, the Dark Arts Wizard, on YouTube, and you can see some of the stuff I do, like with the Candy Mapper website, where we do testing of tools. I also play around with some stuff using generative web design stuff just to make up fake websites. There's coming Software Velocity. Do take a look at them. Functionize has a really cool tool that they're working with, and I've been playing around with that as well. Zaptest is out there too. And I think that's about it. All the plugs I'm going to give today. It's always a great time. Thank you again to Testomat.io. Hit their website, please do that, and because they also offer really good services on automation as well. I'm gonna wrap it up over here. I am Paul Grossman, the Dark Arts Wizard. Thank you again for everyone joining up here. Thank you again to Testomat for hosting these. I'm looking forward to doing many more in the future. And everybody, have yourself a great day. Cheers.